guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video. Today's video is going to be the first video on the Anastasia Beverly Hills Riviera palette. I'm planning to do two videos on this palette. In this video, you're going to see swatches of this palette on my arms as well on my eyes, and I'll share my thoughts on this palette. And I will be also doing another video which will go up later today or else tomorrow, where I will be swatching and comparing this palette with some of the other Juvia's Place palettes I have. Since this is a very colorful palette and many of you guys own Juvia's Place palettes, so I thought I will share a comparison of the shades of this palette with some of the Juvia's Place palettes I own. So that video is going to come up later. But without much further ado, let's get started with today's video, where I will show you swatches and I'll share my thoughts on this palette. Okay guys, let's get started with today's video. So I went ahead and purchased the Anastasia Beverly Hills Riviera palette, which is their latest launch. How many of you guys knew that I will buy this palette? I'm in a low buy currently, but when there is an Anastasia Beverly Hills palette which looks like this, I just cannot resist myself. It is so beautiful. It was a colorful palette and I love Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadow formula, and it is very easily available here in Singapore as well. So there was not a chance that I will not purchase this, although I bought this from CultBeauty where it was launched first. So I got this palette from CultBeauty. This is how the palette looks like. I love the packaging of this palette. It's really fun. This is how the outer box looks like, and this is how the actual palette looks like. There is no velvet packaging this time. It's all like a denim sort of packaging with the nautical theme. Very fun. And the color scheme, as you guys have already seen, this is how the color scheme is. It is so pretty. I loved the color scheme. Very fun, playful, a lot of colors to play with, and you get a lot of mattes here as well. So the entire up row except this white shadow are all shimmers, and the bottom row are mattes. Let me give you a close-up of this palette. This is how the palette looks like. In this palette also you get 14 shades as the other Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes, and out of the 14 shades there are 8 matte shades. So all of these are mattes plus this one, and all of these are shimmer shades. You have a nice size mirror in this palette as well, and you do also get a brush. Each pan in this palette contains 0.73 grams of product or 0.025 ounce, which is quite less compared to some other eyeshadows which you get in the market. But I think for Anastasia you are getting a tad bit more. This one is however priced a little bit higher than the regular Anastasia palettes, and I'm not really sure if this one is a limited edition product or not. So I'm a little doubtful on that. But anyways, we are going to do the swatches first, and then I will share my thoughts on this palette. So let's see the swatches first. So here is a close-up of the palette one more time. Let's swatch the first row of the palette first. The first shadow in the palette is a white matte shade called Sails, and it's a very pigmented white matte shade. I don't have any other white matte shade in my collection, so that's a really interesting color which they have put in the palette. And next in the palette we have one of my favorite shades in the palette, which is called Yacht. It's a duochrome mauve taupe with a violet shift. It looks amazing on the eyes, and I've used this shade quite a number of times with some of my eye looks. If you want to do neutral eye looks, this is a really good shade, and it looks very good with the colorful shades as well. Next in the palette we have a metallic blue shade called Seychelles. It's sort of an aquamarine blue, and it just looks beautiful on the eyes, especially with some of the colorful shades like the purple. It just looks beautiful. Then we have a shade called Palermo, which is a metallic jewel pink, more like a burgundy light pink sort of a metallic shade, and this is also really pretty. It's not really a very unique color which I own. I have this color in some other palettes, but I really love these sort of colors. Next we have a shade called Seaside, which is a duochrome silver with a subtle blue shift, and I agree that this is probably one of the first silvers I have actually liked. It has a slight hint of a blue shift which looks really nice. Then we have a very bright gold shade. It's a very true metallic gold, and if you love golds, you're going to love this color. Personally, I don't really love true silvers that much, nor do I love true golds that much. So I am not a big fan of this color, but if you love golds and you love to create colorful looks with golds, you are going to love this color. Then we have the shade Mediterranean, which is a sort of like a metallic blue with a duochrome shift. This is also really pretty, and it will go very well with the metallic aquamarine blue. Then we have the matte shades in the palette, which is the bottom row. First we have a basic peachy pink shade called Estate. It is a pretty good brow bone highlight for my skin tone. If you are lighter, you will be able to use it much more, but on my skin tone, this is just going to be a transition or a blending shade. Then we have Cabana, which is a mustard matte, and I really like this mustard shade. If you want to create some neutral looks with the mustard, the gold, the brown, you can do so. Then we have Coastline, which is a soft peachy matte shade, a very versatile shade. I think this one fits really nicely in the palette. It is a very good transition shade for my skin tone, plus it can also soften some of the other deeper matte shades, so I do really like this shade Coastline. Then we have a bright matte pink shade, which is a very hot pink, and this has been described as a pressed pigment. It is super pigmented and just blends super nicely. It gives a very vibrant pink look on the eyes, so I'm extremely happy with this pink shade in the palette. If you are looking for a very bright pink, then this will deliver. Then we have the shade Monte Carlo, which is a soft lighter pink in the palette, and it's a more cool tone pink. I quite like this pink as well. It helps to balance out the previous very hot pink, so this is an essential in the palette. Then we have the shade Cannes, which is a bright purple. This is also a pressed pigment, so it is superbly pigmented, amazing quality, very good purple. If you are looking for good matte purple, this is a very good matte purple. I liked it. And the last shade which we have in the palette is called Palm, which is a matte dark chocolate brown color, which is also a pressed pigment. So this also has a lot of punch to it. It's very pigmented, and even though we have pressed pigments in the palette, they have worked really great. They have been pretty easy to work with, so I did not have any issue with them. So those were the swatches of the palette and eye swatches as well. I really hope it was helpful. I love the color story of this palette. I think Anastasia did something great, something different. They have been releasing quite a few neutral palettes recently. The Soft Glam, the Sultry, and the Norvina palette was also not very colorful. So this is something out there, something out of the box, something more colorful. So I love the color story of the palette. As far as the quality goes, I think the shadows are extremely good quality. They are very much like the Anastasia palettes. I don't think I have issues working with any of the shadows. As I said, this one are pressed pigments. So something to note about pressed pigments is that they do stain the eyes. So even on my tan skin tone, I did face some staining. They do fade away in a couple of days, but yes, if you wear the shadows for a longer period of time, there is some staining. So you do have to keep that in mind. Other than that, I don't think I have issues with the matte shades. There is a little bit of fallout with some of the matte shades, but surprisingly enough, the fallout is not as much as some of the other previous Anastasia formulas. So maybe they have done something, I don't know. I was quite surprised that the fallout for me wasn't as much. And as far as the metallic shades are concerned, really pigmented, super foil, extremely smooth. As you could see from the swatches, they are just beautiful metallic shades. If you are interested in these sort of metallic shades, I will definitely recommend this palette. The only thing what I can think of in this palette which is missing is something to go with this blue shadow. I think a deeper blue, a deeper violet, something which is there in the Magic palette. I'll just show you. So this sort of a color in the Magic palette, this is the Juvia's Place Magic, like something of this sort of a color or this sort of a color, a matte deeper blue color. It would have been amazing. It would have given a little bit more depth. Now in this palette, if you're close to my skin tone especially, you're not going to get too much depth from this palette. You will have to pull in some other palettes for black or deeper browns, especially if you have the Sultry palette. This is the Sultry palette here. I think this palette will go so well with this palette. It's just a match made in heaven. I think you can create so many different variety of looks with these two palettes. The Sultry palette is also, by the way, excellent. I will do a separate video on the Sultry palette soon. And with the Norvina palette also, this palette will go really well. If you have the Norvina palette already and you like colors, then this is a really nice addition. you can get a variety of looks from these two palettes, and the formula is very similar, very easy to work with. In my opinion, both of these palettes are sort of add-on palettes. These are colorful palettes, something to have fun with for occasions, for casual date nights, going out. These are like fun palettes if you want to create colorful looks. But if you are looking for something which will be a little bit more everyday friendly, this is the palette to go for. It is a little bit more everyday friendly. And if you want a palette which you want to have fun with, you want to create a lot of fun looks, you want a lot of colors to play with, then this is a nice palette to play with. You get a variety of colors and a lot of looks are possible. Let me show you some of the looks which I have created with this palette. I will post the tutorials of these looks in some other video or on my Instagram. So the first look which I created was using the blue shade called Seychelles. I paired this blue with the purple matte and with the pinks in the transition, and I think this look turned out really well. I also had a little bit of brown in the crease. Next I did another look with the pinks, so these pinks and this neutral sort of a shimmer shade, and I think that look also turned out pretty well. This look is more of a everyday friendly eye look, and I also did use some brown in the outer V and the crease, and it was very easy to achieve. All the looks which I have done very easy to achieve because the colors blend so well and the shimmers are extremely pigmented, so you don't have to build up too much. So it was a great fun working with this palette to create different looks. Then I also did a silver eye look with this purples and pinks and using this silver shade, which is sort of a duochrome shade, and I was pleasantly surprised how much I like that look. I'm usually not someone who works with silvers. I don't like silver that much, but with this look it somehow worked really well with the purples and the pinks and the silver. It was a really fun look. I used some lashes as well, so yeah, that was fun. And then I have this look right here, which is a completely matte eye look with some purple in the a lid, all over the lid. Then I have some pink in the transition, both of the pinks, and I have some brown, and in the center of the eyelid what you see is the white matte shade. So I think the white matte shade is quite versatile. You can mellow down some of the brighter colors and you can use it in the center of the eye like this to give a little bit more definition and dimension to the eye look. And yeah, I really like this eye look. It's a purple pink eye look, but it's a purple matte pink eye look, so the entire look is matte. I am not someone who does matte eye looks a lot, but I loved this. It doesn't look like it's a matte eye look because of that white matte shade. It's giving a lot of dimension and definition to the eye look, and it was so easy to work with these shadows, the purples and the pinks and the white. They just blend so easily. It was very effortless. None of the eye looks which I've created took much time because the shadows are pigmented so well, they blend so well. So yeah, it's a very easy to work with a colorful palette, and I really like it. Just that maybe if we had one more deep blue, it would have been a perfect palette. I can just pull out some of my other palette, there's no issue, but maybe that's something to keep in mind. And a ton of looks are possible with this palette. I have personally done more, so just look out for the looks on Instagram. If you want me to do a separate video on some more looks, then do let me know. I will love to do them. And yeah, that's all I wanted to cover in this video. Do let me know if you have any questions or you want me to cover something else. I may do a comparison of this one if you guys are interested, and I will do a separate video on the Sultry palette as well if you guys are interested. Other than that, I really hope that this video was helpful and you liked it. Please do give this video a thumbs up, comment down below if you liked it, you found it helpful. It really helps my channel. If you're watching me for the first time, I really hope you consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you again really soon in my next video. Bye.